we're good.
Okay, so my topic is check for understanding, which can seem really like no duh, because it's something that you'd think like every teacher would be doing, and why would they dedicate an entire chapter towards this one fairly fundamental thing that you'd expect teachers to be doing anyway? But the check for understanding chapter should probably be called something along the lines of check for understanding, and if you find misunderstanding, fix it as soon as possible. So it's all about making sure that students' their foundation understanding of a topic is correct. Because when you're scaffolding and you're building upon that foundation, you really need it to be the strongest possible foundation there is. So what I really want to do today is kind of lead a discussion or a think tank between everyone here and kind of talk about different ways that this can be done. And what I'll do is I'll provide some examples of how I've seen it done. Basically, I kind of cheated before today. I YouTubed Check for Understanding and came up with about a dozen hits of other teachers kind of showing them doing like this particular topic from the book. So I'll start with the first one, which was a teacher had given out a complete list of questions, and they'd given really explicit instructions that said, once you finish the first question, once you finish the first problem, put your thumb up in the air, and what he would do is he would go around the class. As soon as he saw a thumb up, he'd go check the work, make sure it was correct, and only then could the student move on to the next problem. So obviously the problems, they were all related to each other. So what the teacher was ensuring was that the students were building on the correct knowledge instead of like building on a misunderstanding, which is obviously going to be not beneficial towards their learning. So what I'll do is, there's the other one, sorry. The other one was it was an ESL class, and this one I really liked because the teacher started with everybody with their hands down and then went through a monologue of increasingly more difficult words, and as soon as he gave the explicit instruction that as soon as he said something that any student didn't understand, the first thing they do is put their hand up, and it gave him a really easy way of looking at the class and seeing as the hands go up throughout his more increasingly difficult monologue, he'd get an understanding as to where exactly students were, and he could check their understanding on that level. So what I want to do is just kind of lead the discussion, particularly when you're thinking about this, think about your own topic, like what was yours again, sorry Wendy? What was your topic?
Oh, apparently it wasn't clear, no. It was circulate.
Thanks. with the circulate one, this is obviously something that's going to fit in quite well because circulating around the classroom, you've got the opportunity to check for understanding as you go around the classroom. So think about how you might implement check for understanding in conjunction with your own topic. Does anyone want to volunteer first? Yep.
Yeah. One I've seen in classes is the up, down, and middle. You ask the students, do you understand? Yes, no, or yeah, you kind of get it.
Certainly. And then when you're thinking about something like that, how would you, like if somebody came up with a thumb down or a kinda, how would you move from there?
I think it would depend on how many thumbs down there were. If there was only one or two, I'd probably sort of set them off on a task and go and have individual chats.
Yep.
But if there was 3/4 of the class thumbs down, I think we need to continue on and get it clear about what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, certainly. Did you have one?
Yeah, so you can do a quick concept check, just like I did. I said, so what are you doing? How long do you have to do it? Have they understood what they have to do?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And you could it's about building on the right foundation as opposed to building on shaky foundation or complete misunderstandings. Does anyone else have an idea how they might utilise it? Yep.
You can always do the lead pass. It sort of terrifies kids and everything as well, which is good.
Certainly.
What's the lead pass?
Lead pass. You put out a question usually about 15 minutes before the end of the lesson, and you have it on a piece of paper and you say, look, you can't leave until you give me the answer to this as you're leaving. And that way it really makes people, instead of drifting off at the end of the class, they're going to have to do some work and hopefully understand
and make sure they've got that foundation knowledge as well. Especially like if you're looking at a 10 lesson unit, doing that at the end of the first lesson is going to make sure that that foundation knowledge is there too. That's a good one. Does anyone else have an idea? Yeah?
I was just going to say, like in terms of, like post-it and putting out the learning outcomes, even as simple as just going back and referring and making sure that, they understand throughout the lesson, in whatever the technique is,
Yep.
that they know, throughout the lesson, that they are geared towards their learning outcomes and that they're understanding what they need to achieve.
Absolutely. Like I totally agree with having the intended learning outcomes somewhere really visible, to the point where I think almost having Ausvels, like the literal coded Ausvels on the wall, so that students are aware as to what stage that they should be at. I don't see any reason why you couldn't have that in a classroom, if you know what I mean. Like there shouldn't be any reason for it. I might move on just to check for your understanding, because a lot of this is based on kind of the difference between formative and summative assessment. So does anyone know the difference between formative and summative assessment? Yes?
Formative is used as a tool to actually assist students in their learning process. So it informs the teacher as to how students are progressing, and it also gives the students some feedback on how they're progressing so that they can then intervene if necessary. Whereas summative is more, well, to what level have we got to at the end of this process?
Beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't have explained it better. So what do you think check for understanding is, like compared to formative assessment, summative assessment, which one do you think check for understanding falls under more? Excellent. So what's happening is you're doing, like summative assessment will come at the end of a unit, or it'll come at the end of a semester, where you will give the student a mark or a grade or anything like that, and they'll be able to look at that and judge their own performance on that. Whereas formative assessment, it's more each lesson, within the lesson you're providing feedback, you're making sure the students are on the right track, and you're following it up in the right manner. So I'm probably way under time, but I don't mind. So I'm just going to cool. reinforce the check for understanding. So it's not just checking for the understanding. You really have to make sure that you're fixing the errors as they occur, and that's the basis of this chapter or this topic or whatever we're referring to them as. So I'll stop there.